This is not a fictional story. It was a true incident that happened in 1949, considered the world's most terrifying supernatural tale. Roland Doe lived with his mother in Cottage City, Maryland. The boy was very quiet by nature, but he began behaving strangely after his aunt gave him a Ouija board. From then on, Roland became completely possessed by the devil. He started speaking in different languages and even levitating in the air. Inspired by his life, American writer William Peter Blatty wrote a novel in 1971. Later, based on this novel, William Friedkin created the world's scariest horror movie in 1973, The Exorcist. It is said that during the filming of this movie, paranormal incidents happened almost every day, from team members to actors. Even those who went to theaters to watch the movie reported hearing whispering voices from the hall. After the movie's release, some crew members died under mysterious circumstances. Today, we will learn about this American supernatural horror movie based on true events. And in this film, instead of Roland Doe, a girl is shown, to keep Roland's identity hidden. Northern Iraq. Here, everyone was digging the ground in search of ancient artifacts. Among them was Father Lancaster Marin. While excavating, a man informed Father Marin that they had found an old lamp, arrowheads, and some other insignificant items. When Father Marin went to inspect them, he also noticed an ancient coin, one that belonged to the demon Lemestu. This demon, Lemestu, was known to suck the blood of unborn babies from pregnant mothers, killing the child in the process. As Father Marin searched further, he discovered a statue buried there. After brushing off the dirt, he realized it was the terrifying demon Pazuzu. Upon researching both demons, Father Marin learned that Pazuzu and Lemestu were sworn enemies. Pazuzu was far more powerful, bringing droughts and swarms of locusts to devastate crops and harm people. To protect themselves from Lemestu, villagers would worship Pazuzu and seek his help. After uncovering these dark truths, Father Marin grew deeply afraid, sensing an ominous sign. As he left Iraq to return to America, the statue of Pazuzu appeared before him. He stared at it intently, trembling with an unknown fear. Nearby, two dogs fought viciously, symbolizing the two demons locked in eternal conflict. The scene then shifts to Georgetown. We are introduced to the home of an actress named Chris McNeil. One night, a strange noise wakes her up, but when she checks outside, she finds nothing. Assuming it's just a rat infestation, she asks her caretaker, Carl, to set up traps the next morning. The following day, Chris has a shooting scheduled. Her job is to calm protesting university students. Chris is a highly respected and wealthy figure in the acting world. Living near Chris is Father Karras, who is often seen around her filming locations. Chris lives happily with her 12-year-old daughter, Reagan, though her husband is no longer with them. They are separated. Since Chris is busy with work most of the day, she has two housekeepers, Sharon and Carl. Whenever she's home, she spends her time with Reagan. Meanwhile, Father Karras lives far away from his sick mother. He always wished to bring her with him, but she refuses to leave their old home. When Karras visits her, she is overjoyed to see him. Though he planned to stay with her for a few days, he leaves secretly in the night without saying goodbye. Meanwhile, one day while Chris was spending time with her daughter, she noticed a Ouija board among her daughter's toys, which was quite surprising. Chris asked her daughter Reagan, "Where did you get this board? And you can't play the Ouija game alone. Who did you play with?" In response, Reagan said, "I don't play this game alone. I play with Captain Howdy." Then, Chris wanted to play the game with Reagan. When she picked up the Ouija board, an invisible force seemed to snatch it from her hands. Assuming it was nothing unusual, Chris asked her daughter, "Don't you want me to play with you?" Reagan replied, "I do, but Captain Howdy doesn't want you to play with me." The strange thing was, there was no one named Captain Howdy in the house. Chris wanted to know who Captain Howdy was, but Reagan didn't know much about him. Whenever Reagan asked Captain Howdy a question, he would only answer her. Chris dismissed these things as normal, and they went to sleep that night. In the middle of the night, Chris received a call from a director about a shooting project. After finishing the call, when she looked at her bed, she saw Reagan lying there, but she had left Reagan in her own room. Chris asked her, "How did you get here?" Reagan replied. Suddenly, my bed started shaking. It felt like someone was grabbing it and shaking it hard. I got scared and came to your room. Now, Chris found the situation a bit strange. She thought her daughter might be disturbed for some reason, so the next day, she took Reagan to the doctor. After running several tests, the doctor found everything normal. However, even at the hospital, Reagan was behaving strangely, sometimes standing near the door, other times yelling at the doctors. When Chris asked the doctor what was wrong with her daughter, the doctor told her that Reagan had a nerve problem, causing her brain to become hyperactive, which led to sudden outbursts of anger. But Chris couldn't believe her daughter was sick. The doctor explained that perhaps Reagan was depressed because her father wasn't around. Meanwhile, Father Kara's mother suddenly fell ill, and his uncle admitted her to a hospital. When Father Karas went to see her, his mother told him to leave. She didn't want to talk to him. This was because the last time Karas had visited, he had left without telling her. Karas realized his mother wouldn't get proper treatment there, so he wanted to admit her to a better hospital, but neither he nor his uncle had enough money for advanced care. A few days later, his mother passed away. Father Karas was deeply saddened because he couldn't be with his mother in her final moments. Meanwhile, Chris had organized a party at her house, with many famous guests in attendance, including film director Burke Dennings, who had a bit too much to drink and was acting rudely with everyone. Meanwhile, Reagan was sleeping upstairs while Chris and the others enjoyed the party downstairs. Suddenly, Reagan came down and, staring at one of the guests, declared, "You're going to die up there in this building." Everyone was shocked, but they dismissed it as a child's nonsense. Then, Reagan suddenly urinated right there in front of everyone. Horrified, Chris quickly apologized to the guests, took Reagan away, and gave her a thorough bath. Chris still believed her daughter was just a little unwell, as the doctor had said. She comforted Reagan, telling her not to worry and that everything would be fine in a few days. After putting Reagan to bed, Chris stepped out of the room, only to hear Reagan scream. She rushed back in and was horrified to see an unseen force violently slamming Reagan against the bed over and over. Chris tried to hold the bed down, but it kept shaking uncontrollably, lifting both of them. The next morning, Reagan was taken back to the hospital. This time, she was even more agitated, screaming and demanding to be let go. Yet, after running more tests, the doctors still found nothing wrong. But Reagan's condition kept worsening. Chris explained the night's events, and the doctor insisted it was just a brain injury causing abnormal behavior, assuring her it would pass. Back at home, things took a terrifying turn. An invisible force kept throwing Reagan around the bed relentlessly. Crying out, Reagan begged her mother, "Help me. Please make it stop. Save me." The doctor arrived after Chris called, but everyone could only watch helplessly as Reagan's condition spiraled out of control. Then, suddenly, Reagan's entire demeanor changed, her voice distorted, her words unnatural. It was clear something demonic had taken hold of her. When the doctor tried to calm her, Reagan attacked him. Finally, they had to restrain her and sedate her with a powerful injection. Chris goes to the hospital to talk to the doctor. After speaking with the doctor, when she returns home, she finds no one there. Inside the house, we see a terrifying face on a hanging monitor. Slowly, Chris heads to Reagan's room. Reagan was alone in the room, and it was extremely cold. As Chris comes downstairs near Reagan's window, she sees Sharon. Chris argues with Sharon for leaving their daughter alone at home, but Sharon tells him that she had left Burke to watch over Reagan. However, Chris doesn't see Burke anywhere. Burke Dennings is the director of the movie Chris is working in. A little later, a friend informs Chris that Burke has fallen out of a window and died. Chris and everyone else believe that Burke drank too much alcohol, lost his balance, and fell to his death. When he fell, Burke's head was twisted backward. This deeply troubles Chris. Just then, Reagan starts crawling down the stairs upside down, blood dripping from her mouth. Everyone is terrified after witnessing this. Meanwhile, Burke's death seems suspicious to everyone, so a detective discusses the matter with Father Karras. Burke fell from above, but why was his head twisted backward? It almost looked like someone had killed him upstairs and then threw him down. Later, they take Reagan back to the doctor. This time, a psychiatrist is present, trying to understand Reagan's condition. The psychiatrist attempts to talk to the entity inside Reagan, but Reagan suddenly attacks her. After a struggle, they manage to restrain Reagan. A medical board is convened as Reagan's condition worsens daily. After discussions, they inform Chris that Reagan needs to be sent to a mental hospital. But Chris refuses. She doesn't want her daughter to be taken away. One day, the detective visits Chris to discuss Burke's death, as it still seems unnatural to him. He asks Chris about the night Burke died. The detective suggests that Burke's twisted head could only happen through black magic. Chris doesn't provide much help. After the detective leaves, strange screams come from Reagan's room. Chris rushes in and sees furniture being thrown against the walls. Reagan is stabbing herself repeatedly with a knife, her body drenched in blood. Chris tries to restrain her, but a demonic force inside Reagan throws her across the room. As Sharon rushes to help, the door slams shut on its own. A wardrobe nearly crushes Chris, but she barely escapes. Reagan twists her head backward and speaks in Burke's voice. "Do you know what your precious little girl did? She killed me." Chris realizes that what's happening to Reagan is not normal. She is completely possessed by an evil spirit. Desperate, Chris goes to meet Father Karras and tells him everything. She begs him to help her daughter. Though initially reluctant, Father Karras agrees to visit their home after seeing Chris's distress. Later, Father Karras arrives at their house to speak with Reagan. By now, the demon has taken full control of her. When Karras enters Reagan's room, she begins speaking in his mother's voice, deeply unsettling him. Father Karras asks Reagan for his mother's middle name, but Reagan vomits directly onto his face. During this time, Reagan is reading Father Karras's mind. The moment he stops thinking about his mother, Reagan can no longer speak about her. Though Karras notices her bizarre behavior, he still isn't fully convinced she's possessed. To test it, he sprinkles holy water on her. Reagan screams, "My skin is burning. Let me go." A few nights later, Reagan's condition worsens. Since Father Karras lives near Chris's house, he is called urgently. When he sees Reagan, the words, "Help me," are carved into her skin. Father Karras begins studying Reagan's case more closely. While listening to her recordings, he realizes she is speaking in multiple languages. Now, he is certain Reagan is possessed. A demon has complete control over her. Karras wants to perform an exorcism, but he needs official permission from the church. He must prove to the higher authorities that Reagan is truly possessed. After speaking with church officials, the chief agrees. To assist with the exorcism, they send Father Marin, the same priest we saw at the beginning of the film. When Father Marin arrives at Reagan's house, he hears her screams from downstairs. Without wasting time, he rushes to her room, with Father Karras by his side. Reagan is tied to her bed because victims often lose control during exorcisms. During the ritual, Reagan keeps screaming. Her bed shakes violently, just like before. To confuse them, she curses in different voices and languages. But the priests ignore her and continue the exorcism. Suddenly, Reagan begins levitating. Reagan taunts Father Karras about his mother, mimicking her voice to break his focus. Father Marin had warned him earlier. During exorcisms, demons mix truth and lies to create confusion. In an instant, an earthquake shakes the room. Father Marin falls to the ground. Reagan breaks free from her restraints and floats in midair. After a desperate struggle, the two priests manage to restrain her again and resume the exorcism. Then, they see the demon's presence, a shadowy figure lurking in the room. Terrified, they realize the true horror they're facing. Then Father Karras steps outside briefly while Father Marin continues the exorcism alone. When Father Karras returns to the room, he finds Father Marin collapsed on the floor, dead from a heart attack. Reagan is laughing at the scene. Enraged by what he sees, Father Karras screams at Reagan, demanding the demon inside her to enter him instead. Slowly, Father Karras becomes possessed. To save Reagan, he throws himself out of the window, falling to his death below. In his final moments, his friend comes to his side. Father Karras has sacrificed himself to save them all. Reagan is now completely healed with no memory of what happened. Chris decides to leave the city and move far away. As they prepare to depart, Father Joseph comes to see them off. Reagan behaves strangely around him, suddenly kissing Father Joseph on the cheek. Before leaving, Chris tries to give the priest a locket, the same one containing the demon Lemestu that Reagan had stolen from Father Karras during the exorcism. Father Joseph refuses and returns it to Chris.